Like notes through the hourglass, these are the songs of our lives. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Songs of Our Lives. I'm Brad Rose. I am an artist, a composer, a writer, the founder of Foxy, Digitalis, and somebody who thinks about music and sound far more than is healthy. Each week I invite on a guest to talk about the songs, the music that has meant a lot to them and left its mark. Previous guests include Jeff Parker, Montana Roberts, Molly Abomswin, Anna Butters, Joe Rainey, and so many more. But this week I'm absolutely thrilled to have Damon Locks on the show. And there's so many things that I could say about Damon Locks, who is just an all-around badass. But I'm going to just mention List of Demands, his new album on International Anthem. We're in mid-February and man, not sure I'm going to hear many records that I like more than this one this year, but that's, so an opportunity presented itself to do this episode. I was kind of, blew my mind. I was really excited. And it was ended up being a hell of a good time. So if you haven't heard the new record, you need to hear that. I'm sure most of you listening know how awesome Damon Locks is. Real quick before we get into it, just want to say, if you appreciate the show, enjoy the show, please leave a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts, because that stuff helps. And we all know, algorithms, it's all a bunch of bullshit. So hey, anything to help, appreciate it. And if you really want to extra support the show, patreon.com/Foxy Digitalis. For as little as $3 a month, $3 a month, you get longer episodes, get them a little bit early, and that ongoing support just really helps keep this and the Foxy Digitalis ship moving along. Thank you to everybody who has done that. But yeah, with that, we recorded this actually like last week, and it was awesome, and I hope you all enjoy it. My guest today is an educator, a visual artist, a vocalist, a musician. It is Damon Locks. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brad. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So you got a new record, List of Demands, that's out now.
That's correct.
For this record, for multiple reasons, will forever be linked in my mind with Nikki Giovanni, mainly because I think I got like the email announcement for this came through my inbox the same time. Like it was kind of coming out that she had passed.
Yeah.
And then of course, she's mentioned in the write-up for the record, but I just wanted to real quick ask if you could like talk a little bit about her and like her influence on you and your work, and just, yeah.
Well, Nikki Giovanni is and will always be an influence. Her kind of unwavering focus and her creativity, musically, politically, all of these things are always going to be an influence. And so when thinking about putting a record together that was based on text, that made me go back and put my Nikki Giovanni records on. I already been listening to them because she did a couple records with gospel choirs. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I was listening to early on when I was thinking about creating Black Monument Ensemble, my group. But going back and listening to people deal with like text and poetry on records was really inspiring, but also something I was like actively digging into when making this record. So, whether it was Nikki Giovanni or, MF Doom or whomever, like I was like listening to words and sounds together. But Nikki was always someone that was just like, she had gone through, she lived and was active through a really vibrant time of like a civil rights era with so many of our classics, Black thinkers. And there were spaces that I would go to that she was there like the week before or the week after. And so there was always this kind of feeling like I was like, oh, maybe I'll get to meet Nikki Giovanni, but unfortunately it won't happen.
Yeah. You also, so you work with the Stateville Correctional Center with teaching art in the prison. Which years ago I used to work in corrections education, which is probably my favorite job I've ever had in my life, and life kind of took me elsewhere. But how did you get involved in that to start with?
Well, that was interesting because I had quit my job maybe for 4 years earlier. I was a music publicist with a company called Biz3 Publicity. And I did that for like 9 years. And I had been putting my kind of visual art and music to the side. And I thought it's time for me to figure out what it looks like to do this for real. And I thought as a visual artist that I needed my work to be. I wanted to have my work connected to whatever my idea of community was. I wanted it to be in service of something, you know? So I was trying to make work, even if I was doing design work, even if I was doing movie posters or that sort of thing. I wanted to have it be connected politically with what I was interested in. And then this exhibition for the Jane Addams Hull House Museum was coming up, and I had met the curator for that. And they called me up one day and said, would you be interested in teaching a class at Maximum Security Men's Prison in partnership with Prison Neighborhood Arts and Education Project? And you teach a semester, you work on the themes of freedom, time, and play, and whatever you make with the guys on the inside, it will go in the exhibition. And so I was like, Maximum Security Men's Prison. I've never done this before, but okay, Damon, you wanted to have access to community. This is a community that people generally don't have access to. So are you going to step up to the plate? And so I did. And I found it to be a very moving and transformative experience. And I think I did a good job. So the folks at PNAP, aka Prison and Neighborhood Arts and Education Project, said, hey, do you want to stay? And so I've been working with them for 11 years now.
Wow. That's awesome. I used to work at a community college, and they had a corrections education program, and this was 2015, 2016. They were doing like a Department of Education was doing this, like trying Pell Grants for incarcerated people. Like they had them and they took it away.
Yeah.
And then they were doing this pilot program, and we got selected for it. And so I was like, I'd go up there every week, and I was helping them like fill out FAFSAs and then helping with, and yeah, it was, if I ever go back into education, like that's what I want to do. Cause I'd never been in that environment either. Cause it was medium security. Cause we have like one maximum security prison in Oklahoma, which is surprising because of how many prisons we have. But yeah, it was amazing. So,
I mean, I actually think that everyone should gain proximity to the prison system. So if this is going to be our system, then people should know what it looks like. Yes. And I feel like it's on purpose that people aren't connected to that if they're not caught up in the system, so that the system can operate however it wants to. I think if people really saw what it was like and then they would be affected by it, and we would have to think about our system more. But the reason why I really felt like continuing to teach there, and why I felt like it was so important, is because I feel that art creates proximity. I think that all of the arts creates proximity. So once you see someone's art, you kind of care about them a little bit more, and then you're invested. You're invested in their like internal thoughts and their struggles or their survival. So it was important for us to make art on the inside and bring it to the outside.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Could you talk a little bit? I was really curious, interested in the artist constitution that you all it mentioned, like the process of making that, and kind of. I haven't seen like a physical copy of the record yet, which I need to get one just because I want to see that, because it's like printed inside there, right? Like
yeah. You get a poster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you get one. Then you can put it up or share it or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
This was a class that I did. It was the last class I taught. Stateville actually just closed down, last fall, but, I did a class in the summer before that. So summer of 2023, I taught a class, and the summer classes are a little shorter. So I had a couple guys in my class that I've been like working with for like 10 years. And some people were newer and some people I'd just been seeing around the whole time. And I decided, let's do a document that talks about the work that's done on the inside and what it should look like. And that was really interesting because that was our project. We did some other stuff. We designed some buttons and pins and poster designs and things like that. But our main goal was to get this document done. And what was really interesting is that people really tussled over the language. We spent like several weeks on sentences, where people were like, no, this part of the sentence isn't right. I think this part of the sentence is what we need to get at, So that was just a super interesting, great project. And so I'm honored, like, as I was putting the record together and as it kind of came to get, like, the goal of that project was to get the poster printed and sent out to like partners that of the program and teachers and things like that. But as I was putting the record together and it kind of fell into place that would be called list of demands, I was like, let's print the poster and put it inside the record.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Okay. Before we get into the songs, I was going to, this is more fun. Well, this is all fun stuff, but, so there's the samples are like, I love, like, I keep listening to the record and trying to pull out samples and think about samples. And I'm just curious if there are any like ones that really like that made it to the record or that were like really surprising or impactful, like that people might not guess, or maybe you don't want to reveal that. I don't know, but
I mean, I generally don't talk about where the samples are from, but because there's something I love about samples. There's something I love when you're like in your car or listening to something and you hear a thing that's been sampled. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, and you have this weird feeling of recognition that you're like, what is that? And you have to go through this journey in your mind of figuring out what it is or where it's from. So I enjoy that. And then I also enjoy this kind of non-hierarchical like thing about text, where I pull text from lots of different places and documentaries and people that probably don't have a voice anywhere else other than this documentary, and put that in a context where it's like a super impactful, amazing piece of text. There was this documentary, I will say, I can't remember where it is on the record, and I hope it is on the record. I'm pretty sure it's on the record, but maybe you can tell me. But there was this documentary from the early 70s. It's a women's prison documentary, and someone is interviewing this woman as she's getting picked up outside of the prison, and they're asking her about like what she anticipates. And she says that she doesn't have a support system. She doesn't know what she's going to do. And they said, well, what would you say to other people that are getting out? And she was like, all I can say is good luck. That's all I can tell them. And just grabbing the good luck, that's all I can tell them. Even out, like, the rest of the sentence was amazing, but that the gravity and weight of what she's experiencing in that little phrase. And I think I dropped that in the record. And I'm just like, those type of things. That's one of the things I love about sampling, because like other kinds of collage, like visual collage and stuff. If you're making a collage and you have a tree and you cut the tree out and you put it on a beach, right? Your brain makes a new thing, a new scene, but you also get the grain of the film. You get the light from that sun. You get all the information that the original photograph had, and you have to add it to the new context. So when I take her voice out of the context of what she was saying, you still have the audio quality of the time. You still have the ache in her voice. You still have the weightiness of that situation to tell you what is happening at that moment. And then you have to put that in the context of everything else that you've heard.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that description, man. And I couldn't tell you exactly where, I'm like 99% sure it is on there.
I feel like it's in there. If it's not, listen for it on another record. It'll show up.
Yeah, it's coming. Okay, well, I could go down a whole bunch of other rabbit holes, but there's only so much time.
We have a job. We have a job to do.
We got a job to do, and we got to do it. Got to check things off the list. So, as ever, I'm going to start with the list where I always do, which is, what is the first song that you remember?
The first song I remember, this was a tough one because, things like as a child, like the order of things, it's hard to know what came first,
Right.
I made me think about like all of the musicals that my mom liked, or the Temptations or the Four Tops or any of these things. Like, would they have really come first? But the first song I can remember, I had to go with the first song that I could remember that, I heard this on the radio and there are words to it. And if I sing these words, I'm singing along with this song.
Right.
And since the songs on the radio, like, we had record players at the time and 8-track tapes and tape players, but the radio was that kind of constant changing of songs. That's where we got most of the new things that maybe we would want to go buy the tape of the record. So the first song I would say that I remember thinking about was Rock the Boat by the Hues Corporation. Rock the boat, don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat, don't tip the boat over. Yeah.
Man. Yeah. The song is like pure sunshine. Yeah. Man, I love this. It's what a song. It's I feel like, I don't know. The song, like, I was thinking this might be the one that puts you in a better mood, because this song puts me in a better mood.
It's a great song. I mean, it's the Rock the Boat, Don't Rock the Boat, Baby. That's great. But then there's Rock the Boat. And then Ever Since Our Voyage of Love Began, I love to set you like a rush of a wind. And then our love is like a ship on the ocean. We've been trailing with a cargo full of love and devotion. Like, there's and then I'd like to know where you got there's like 12 different hooks in that song.
Yeah, that's like one of the things I really love. And there's so many different hooks and so many different voices, and it all is just, I don't know. It's like this machine of like all these moving parts that are working perfectly in unison. And
Now, I apologize probably for all my key changes and everything and bad notes and doing that, but I didn't rehearse ahead of time. So,
well, I guess we can forgive you this time. What is a song that either it makes you cry or it makes you like feel in that sort of state of mind in that way?
Well, it's Bjork's song, I Remember You. The song is amazing as it is, but she does a version with a harp. And it's just when the angels ask me to recall the thrill of them all, I shall tell them I remember you. Like, in that line is just, it's a romantic song, but it comes from this thing of like, when all is said and done and we're not even together anymore, you're the thing that I remember. And I was just like, wow, that is a tearjerker right there.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. It is, because it's like, it's this romantic love song, but it's from the perspective of like after that is over.
Yeah.
So I didn't even really think about it that way. I hope that someone feels about me this way someday.
That's our goal. That's what we have to work towards.
Yeah, everyone's striving for. Well, okay, if it's not Rock the Boat, what's a song that'll put you in a better mood?
There's a song by The Jam called Happy Together. It's off the Gift album, and it has this super insistent beat, and it's just happy together now. Feeling you close to me, baby. Happy till the end of time. It's such a good song. Yeah. So I can't help but feel uplifted by it.
Yeah. I feel like it's like all those vocal layers on that song. There's like a bunch of vocal layers, and it's like, I don't know. It's one of those songs where I think about like the sort of quote unquote craft of songwriting, because there's so many things that it's like, man, y'all worked really hard getting all this, and then it just kind of rips too at the same time. Like it doesn't feel super
overly thought out. Yeah,
which I feel that's like a trick. It's like it is really thought out, but you can't tell.
Right. You know, it's funny you said that. Made that point because I was talking to a friend. His name's Dan Koretsky, and I don't really ever talk about like pop songwriting necessarily. I think about, I just think of writing songs as writing songs, and it doesn't matter to me whether it's a pop song or whatever. And when I think about the best songs by The Jam, they make me think about like the chord and the melody structure and how it opens up and changes. And not everyone makes me think that. Most time I'm just feeling it, but that's the one example that I'm like, what a good structure. Like, then that opens up to this. This is great. Yeah,
that's really interesting. I wonder what it is. Yeah, I mean, they're awesome. That helps, but that's because I don't know. I mean, I've started thinking about that more as I've done this podcast, because I interview a lot of people who really think about that stuff and have interesting stuff to say about it, and it's made me recognize those things. But I'm more I feel things more than I and that's how I write songs. I'm not, the construction aspect of it is kind of goes over my head sometimes, I feel like. Okay, well, everybody's favorite question: what is objectively the best song of all time?
I mean, that is an extremely difficult question. But I think you said in your question, like, if aliens came and you wanted to give them an example, I chose In a Sentimental Mood by Duke Ellington and John Coltrane. Like, it's a song that I will never get tired of listening to. And it's a song that every single time I hear it, I'm like, this is a great, great, great song.
Yeah. I could hear, I've probably heard this song 100,000 times. I don't know. And I could hear it 1,000 more. It's one of the great melodies ever written.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, as I was prepping for this, I was listening to like other versions of this, because there's a million versions of this, and a lot of them are great, but there's something about this particular version, it kind of hits the hardest.
Well, and they're like two of our jazz masters, like of the originators, like with all of the nuance, subtlety, and dynamics that you could possibly have, those two have it. The only thing that can make it better is if you put Miles Davis on the song,
Right. Yeah. I read somewhere that I guess this version, they like dropped the key to, it's like there's a key, it's in a different key than most of the other versions. And I think that helps, or not helps, but I think that just changed, like, it adds even more of a like gravity to it or something. I don't know. I mean, again, that's songwriting stuff that is kind of over my head, but I don't know. I mean, you put Duke Ellington and John Coltrane together. What are you going to expect? And that'd be a good thing to show aliens, because, hey, if anything's going to save us, it could be that. Okay. What's a song you used to love it, but now, like, you've heard it recently, if you think about it now, it doesn't quite do it for you in the same way?
Well, also very difficult question because I am notoriously on a continuum. I am basically the same person that I've always been as a child up until now with just more information. So I can go back and listen to the music I liked when I was in 5th or 6th grade, and I still think it's good. Like, I am lucky in that way. So I had to really dig deep. And it was one of my first 7-inches that I bought on my own. And it was Disco Duck by Rick Dees and his cast of idiots. It's clearly a joke song, but I loved that song as a child. And now I don't care.
That's fair. I don't know. I feel like this is, I don't know. I feel like this is a song like this is probably like a reason that a lot of people have their opinions about disco that they do.
Why you might not like disco, this would be a reason. Yeah,
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, though I have sampled it.
Really?
I never used the sample, but I did make a nice sample that was like, sample's kind of fire, you know?
Well, that'd be a fun one to work in there.
Yeah.
I do like that it's cast of idiots, though.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
All right, well, what is a song that people, I don't know who these people are. Some people, group of people, they hate it. People hate it. You don't care. You love it. What?
Also difficult song to figure out because I feel like I have good taste in music. And so it's hard for me to find a song that most people hate that I love. Because there are many songs that people love that I hate, but the opposite is a challenge. Yes. So I would go back to my days of regularly DJing. And so like, what song would I enjoy putting on that people don't respond to? And I have to say, Der Kommissar by Falco is a song that I enjoy playing loudly and enjoy hearing, don't turn around, uh-oh. Der Kommissar's in town, uh-oh. And I think it sounds great, but no one wants to dance to it.
Man, nobody wants to dance to this?
When I was DJing it in the first 10 years or 15 years of the 2000s, you put on Falco's Der Kommissar, nothing.
Wow.
Crickets.
That's, damn. People are missing out because this is, man, I don't know. Like, for one thing, like, it feels very German. I mean, which it is. I guess it's Austrian maybe, but I don't mean that as a negative thing. I don't know. I mean, isn't it basically the same? I mean, isn't it basically rips off Super Freak?
Well, it rips itself off actually, because there's a German version of the song, and then they made the American version of it. Yeah, I just think it's just awkward and weird. So yeah.
I guess so. I don't know. I think I think it's got like such a good groove. It makes me want to get up and move. So
okay, good.
Well, apparently I'm in the minority.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, maybe everyone does love it. We'll hear back from the podcast audience. Let us know.
Yeah. Do people love this? People hate it. Do you consider yourself a romantic?
Yeah, I think I'm a romantic. I am a mix between a realist and a romantic. I'm not the person that is necessarily gonna. I guess now I would give flowers. My partner really likes flowers, so I would do that. But I always tried to go the deeper route. You know, like I remember one time giving a bunch of Reese's peanut butter cups as opposed to flowers, because I know that person really likes Reese's peanut butter and the flowers. The peanut butter cups might last longer. You know, I try to I try to make experiences as opposed to the surface level of things. So yeah.
But it is nice to get flowers sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, now I have more of an appreciation because my partner just like really finds a lot of joy in it. And I think that's the point.
Right, that's the key.
If other people just like, I probably would have given flowers if other people were really, really into them.
Right.
I just think that there was just kind of a surface level of like, this is what you do, and I didn't want to do the surface level.
Right. Yeah. No, I think I was. It's not about me. It's about what they find joy in. Like you said, like that's the anyway. Valentine's Day is coming up, so it's pertinent information, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the most romantic song?
There's two that I couldn't.
Okay.
I think the number one was A Song for You by Donny Hathaway, which is just an absolutely stunner. There's like no way around it. It's just an amazing, amazing, amazingly romantic, heartfelt song.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to add Getting to Know You by Parliament because it's been like in my brain for like the last 2 weeks. And it's just, it's an upbeat song. It's not like, whereas A Song for You is like a piano ballad. Getting to Know You is very upbeat, but it's just, it's a declaration of, a love like this I never knew I could feel. Getting to know you, getting to know all I love you and all and the whole wide world around you, as it says. So it's just this like exuberant like excitement around this person, which I think is extremely romantic.
Yeah, both of those are, man. That Donny Hathaway, like, God, that's what a song. And his voice on that song is just all time great. I mean, he's all time great, but his voice on that song. Ooh. Which is funny because
go on.
I was going to say this, like with this, so like it's a Leon Russell song, which Leon Russell's. So I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Leon's like Russell is Tulsa royalty because that's where he's from. And I grew up with like the Leon Russell version of this song, and then I remember hearing this for the first time. I was like, "Oh, this is."
You're like, "Oh,
this is the version. Like this is Donnie's song."
Mm-hmm. Anyway, how am I doing? These are the best answers you've heard, right?
It's up there, man. Anybody, there's not enough like Parliament Funkadelic on this podcast who I think are. I mean, I don't really go down this road much, but they're the greatest band ever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, objectively,
yeah.
So, but which is so we were talking before this. Like, if I like guess and I try to figure out and I've been mostly wrong also on all of my guesses.
Good.
So I like that, like this, and it makes sense as the most romantic song, but that's never like when I would have thought this was one of the picks for like greatest song ever. So, but yeah, yeah, I don't know what else to say about Parliament, George Clinton, other than
I hope he sticks around for a while.
I know
we've lost a lot of greats, and there's a lot of people that was like, this wasn't the bill of sale. I wasn't sold this world minus David Bowie and Prince. Yeah. I wasn't sold this world minus Joe Strummer. Like I'm like, right. I wasn't sold this world minus Nikki Giovanni. Like you're like, we gotta keep some of the people
George.
around.
We're counting on you, man.
Yeah.
What's a song that changed your perspective on an artist, either for better or for worse?
This one was also tough. There are some groups that like I liked that took a turn that I was less interested in them, but I wanted to say something positive. And when I was growing up, I grew up in the DC music scene.
Okay.
So I was introduced to punk music, but I was also introduced to hardcore. So I'm old enough that my first show was Minor Threat, and I saw Bad Brains and saw early Fugazi shows, all that type of thing. And so I have really low tolerance for new wave music.
Okay.
I mean, there's certain new wave music that I liked. Inarguably, like Bow Wow Wow was new wave, or something, XTC, or things like
Right.
that.
Sure.
But it was British, so it was all super interesting. But I didn't particularly like Devo because they had such a like quirky, nerdy thing happening and it was very pop culture-y at the time. So people that didn't know anything would associate the thing that I liked with Devo. So they were like, "Oh, you like things like Devo and the B-52s," and I was like, "No, I like things like the Bad Brains." So there was a large divide. So I kind of grew up for a couple years not being interested in Devo, even though I did watch them on the show Square Pegs doing Whip It, because I watched anything that was punk related that was on TV. But I eventually heard them do a song called Auto Mowdown, which sounded like it was like a bizarre inverted reggae song. And I was just like, this is a weird, cool song. And I think it goes right into the song Space Girl Blues. And I just thought that was great songs. And then, cause my friend Fred like had 7-inches and their records and everything. So then I started to like dive deeper, and I was like, actually, these guys are pretty cool. I think I had it wrong. I had to take it back. Like I was like,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't particularly like David Bowie at first either, because I knew Fame as a kid because it got played on like Soul Train and stuff like that. But when we got to like Let's Dance and things like that, I was like, I don't, this isn't interesting to me. And then I had a girlfriend that played Ziggy Stardust and 5 years and Moon Age Daydream and things like that. And I was like, okay. So David Bowie and Devo, I had to switch my opinion on.
You gain more knowledge, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like that. Yeah. Auto Mowdown, the inverted reggae, like that.
Can you hear that now?
Yeah. Now, as soon as you said that, because I was thinking of it, like the beat and everything is so. It's just, it stands out. And I was listening to this over and over, and it's like a 2-minute song. So I was listening to it over and over yesterday, and I couldn't quite, I was like, there's something, but that's exactly what it is. It does sound like an inverted reggae.
Well, if you also listen to his vocal take on it, he's like, Auto Mowdown down in Youngstown, people in the street, like he's doing a little Caribbean type of thing happening there.
Yeah, it's such a strange. It's a cool song. I really like, and I'd heard it before, and I hadn't really looked at the lyrics or paid as much attention to the lyrics. And when I was looking at that, I was like, dang, this is. I mean, that happens all the time still now. Like people getting mowed down on the sidewalk. And it's well. I think, okay, so next thing is lyrics. I imagine lyrics are a big thing to you. I mean, lyrics is very pertinent to this whole thing with your new record and all that. So I think I know the answer to this one just because you gave me
lyrics. I gave you lyrics.
You gave me lyrics. And I know that, like, I read it, I was like, oh, I know exactly who that's from. So, but what are your favorite lyrics?
Well, this is, I will say it makes a good transition because I just mentioned David Bowie. But this is not, I mean, like, my favorite lyrics, like there's so many lyrics to choose from, and I just had to pick. I just had to be like, okay, I got to pick something, And I recently had the experience of, I was taking a late flight either to Europe or from Europe. Everyone was asleep. It was 3/4 of the way through the flight. All the lights were off. And I found that Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders of Mars final concert video was on as one of the options.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know what? I've never watched this before. I've actually never listened to that record. I have worked in 3 different record stores in my life. I've seen it a million times, but I've never really paid much attention to it. I watched this thing and I was fully 100% getting into it. Like everyone else was asleep and I'm just like rocking in my chair. It's so hard because I think it's so great. And I'm just thinking about how the material feels so pertinent today. And if there was some way that this whole concept, visual concept and everything was brought here at this moment, how relevant it would be. Right. I was just so amazed by it. And the guitar playing, everyone sounds at 100%. And thinking that this was their last concert must have been a surprise to the whole band, or the whole band was probably slightly disappointed because they sound incredible on this record. But the lyric in Changes by David Bowie, and these children that you spit on as they try to change their world are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware of what they're going through. Changes. And I was like, that is an amazing line.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't fight it. I just have to put that song in.
Yeah. That's like one of my favorite lyrics too. So when I saw it, I was like, oh man, like I didn't have to guess what it was from. Yeah, no, I think it's such a, I don't know. I mean, this was written in the 60s, 70s. I can't remember what year that was, but
I'm going to probably say early 70s. I'm guessing.
Yeah. I think that's right. And it's, like you said, it's just it's all so pertinent right now in 2025. I mean, it's always pertinent. I mean, I don't know.
It's evergreen.
That's the word. And I think, like raising a kid, I have an 11-year-old daughter, and I'm like, I think about this in that context too, of like, and even this morning, like we had a whole thing and she was yelling at me that I don't understand her and I don't understand, like, because she got her something taken away from her. Anyway, you don't need to know all that, but she was like, you don't understand these, and I was, we're recording this today, and I was just thinking about this lyric. I'm like, actually, I do understand.
but she's immune to your consultation.
Exactly. And and I was, and I thought of that and I was like, now's not the time to be like, actually, I do understand what you're going through. It's just like, she could just be mad and go in her room. Anyway. Yeah, that's a great lyric. It's a great song. I love David Bowie. And it's a shame that he's not here.
Yep.
What's the last song that you completely fell in love with?
Bless the Telephone by Labi Siffre. Do you know this song?
Yeah. I think this is the greatest under 2-minute song ever written.
Yeah. Incredible song. And it came to me fairly recently. And it was in the running for the most romantic song.
Yeah. That's what I thought it would have been the pick for.
Yeah, I just think it's amazing. It's up there. It's also one of the things about the song is it's just such a simple idea that reminds me of Bill Withers. Like one of the strengths of Bill Withers is that he can just say the thing that like we all should have thought of. Yeah. But we didn't. And Labi Siffre does it with Bless the Telephone.
Yeah, I love this song. I always think of him as he has this ability, like the song, there's like this like gentleness to it, and it's like kind of soft, but it's when you like really listen to it and let it kind of wash over you, it has such a gravity to it. It's like the Velvet Hammer is what I think of. It's like so soft, but then it just like hits you in the chest.
Yeah. And next time you listen to it, I think there's like I feel like he should go back to the chorus at the end of the song, but he stops. And I think that's the confidence of the song. The song is so good that you want the chorus. I think someone that like wants the gratification would go back and do the chorus again. but he doesn't need to. And so I want to hear the chorus again, but I'm like, no, he's said his piece. He doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So next time you listen to it, think about that.
That's a really good point. Yeah. I mean, it leaves you wanting, it's like, well, I guess maybe I'll just listen to it again.
Yeah.
And that's the, he knew what he was doing. What cover song is better than the original?
Now, I'm not sure if you'll know this or have experienced this song, but it's a song called Do It Baby by an artist named Susan Cottigan, a reggae artist. And it's a cover of a late Miracles song. After Smokey Robinson quit the Miracles, they released a song. The song is good. It's a good song. It's a really good choice. But I just think that the Susan Cottigan's voice on it sounds incredible. And it's just like a weird, slinky, like roller skating song or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually don't know the original. I know like her album Hurts So Good is like such a good album.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is from that.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but
I have it on a compilation, so I can't remember.
It's her voice is like everything. Like there's that line that's like sweet as honey, and it's like there you go. That's her. That's her voice. But I like that description of roller skating song though.
I think it's good about roller skating jam. But listen to the Miracles version. I think you'll be happy. It's a weird choice for the Miracles to continue after Smokey Robinson, but they had to give it a shot. And I do think that this song is good. It's just Susan Cottigan does it better.
That's going to be interesting too. It's always interesting to me, like when you're like, so in this case where I'm familiar with the cover, and then because normally a lot of times it's the other way around, and how like your opinion of one thing or your experience of one thing shapes the other thing. So like, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to go listen to the Miracles version, but it's going to be a little bit strange. Okay. Last two questions. What is the song that means the most to you? And not necessarily because of the song itself, but because you associate it with something or someone that is so important to you.
The song is Lotus Blossom by Duke Ellington. My partner and I really, really love this song, and we will probably play it at our wedding. And the version that we know or that we listen to is a Duke Ellington album called His Mom Called Him Bill. I think that's the name of the album. It's about Billy Strayhorn. Or Billy Strayhorn wrote the song, and the album is in honor of him. And this version of Lotus Blossom is recorded after a gig. And he's doing it, and you can hear the people in the background, the rest of the band, packing up their equipment. And
okay, I've heard this version.
Yeah. And it just is the most moving tribute to a songwriter partner. And it seems so unlike the time to me for them to release a recorded version where there are people talking in the background. It seems like something that could happen now. But back then, and I just thought they had the artistic like ear to know that all of that sound adds to the mood of the piece, and it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, it's I feel like it's like one of the most affecting piano melodies ever, or something. It's so. Every time I listen to it, I just want to. I just want to close my eyes and just be in that. Like, not. I don't want to be distracted by anything else because it's. It'd be a good wedding song.
Slightly melancholy, but a good one. Yeah,
but it's so beautiful. Like Okay, well, last question. What is, at least in this moment, maybe it changes, but what is your favorite song?
Well, again, also a super impossible thing to figure out, but I had to pick something, and so I went back to a classic, a song that I never tire of listening to, which is "Ghost Town" by the Specials. It has that kind of perfect, like depressive, amazing melody that always kind of keeps me intrigued, keeps me wondering. It sustains the wonder that it built when I was 14 when I first heard it. Like that same imagination of hearing something I've never heard before and not knowing what it was, but feeling like excited by it still happens. Whenever Ghost Town comes on, I'm still the same person being like, what a great song. I love this. Terry Hall died in the last couple of years, and it was very sad and unexpected. Way too young.
Way too young.
His voice in connection to Jerry Dammer's songwriting, but also Terry Hall did Fun Boy 3 and other amazing things, has this like depressing humanist vibe. Like his work is political. He is upset by the world around him, and he doesn't shy away from that. But it's so empathetic. I feel like his depression is empathetic, and it feels that way.
Yeah.
And whenever I hear Ghost Town, it is, in a weird way, it's comforting in a way that reminds me of wearing a trench coat in high school and thinking that other people don't understand you, and they're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is, it's a timeless song. It's it's another one of those ones that, if we've talked about, like in a sentimental mood and stuff, it's like I will never get tired of hearing this.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this. I was kind of prepping for this. I thought it was really interesting that they're like, apparently like the flute, kind of lead melody, the story about recording it is they had to like drop it in on the same track with all the brass things. So if they fucked up, like the whole thing would be messed up.
Yeah. I think that they recorded that song on 4-track.
Yeah. It was like something
they recorded on 4-track because the guy, Jerry Dammers, heard a song that this person recorded. And Jerry Dammers was like, this is the engine, this is the sound that we want for the song. That guy has home studio, which is less common in the 1980 or whatever it was. Right. And they went there and it was a 4-track. And so what you have to do is, if you want to keep layering stuff, you got to bounce it down onto the other tracks. So that's probably the case. They were probably like, okay, we're going to record this and bounce it down onto this other track, Yeah.
And it was like the people who played the brass stuff had already left and were like on their way back to New York, whatever. And it was, well, if we somehow mess this up, it's messed up.
It's an incredible.
Whoever that flute player was, that flute player was, man, good for them.
It's an incredible 4-track recording. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't. I've recorded with 4 tracks for my whole life, and I have no idea.
You have yet to make a song that sounds like Ghost Town.
I've been trying. 30 years in, maybe I had 30 more, and I'll get there. Well, Ghost Town is like the perfect place to end it, because that is one of the best. What a song! God, what a song! Well, this was a lot of fun, Damon. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
List of Demands is out now. Do you got any shows or anything coming up that you want to mention?
I'm playing in LA on the 26th at a place called what's the name of this place? Hold on, give me 1 second. You might have to do some editing. Right. I'm playing at the Philosophical Research Society in LA on the 26th. I don't know if this will be out by the 26th.
Yeah, it'll be out on Tuesday. Okay. So we're good.
And then I'm playing here in Chicago on March 6th at Co-Prosperity Sphere, and it will be simulcast on my radio show, a listening device, on Lumpin' Radio 105.5 FM.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I will put links to all that stuff in the show notes, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Once again, thank you thank you to Damon Locks. Yeah, that was awesome. Go listen to his playlist. The link's in the show notes. It is so good. A number of these songs have made it onto my like mixes that I regularly listen to for various, like if I'm on doing my daily walk or I'm whatever. But so much good music, so many good picks. Awesome. And of course, List of Demands out now, an international anthem. And yeah, he's one of those people you should really just keep an eye on what he's doing because it's always worth your time. And if you think this podcast is worth your time, once again, please leave a rating and review wherever you listen to them. Patreon.com/Foxy Digitalis if you want to go a little bit further, throw a few bucks a month this way, keep this whole thing going. And hey, if that's not for you, take those few bucks, pick up List of Demands. And in the meantime, keep on listening to whatever the hell you want.